So is Google EAT an overrated ranking factor? I know that sounds crazy because everyone is saying, especially with the recent Google algorithm update, that EAT is the most important thing. That's why sites are ranking. It's because of bad authorship or bad EAT. In this video, I'm going to look at many different examples of sites that are in Mediavine that appear to be doing very well and have zero EAT and discuss, is EAT overrated as a ranking factor? So look, don't get me wrong. EAT, I think, is a good thing to incorporate in any niche site or blog. I have an entire module on it in my SEO course, sending strong signals, not just to Google, but your own readers that you're an expert or an authority and you're to be trusted in your niche. So there's definitely no downside to establishing your EAT. That's not what this video is about. What this video about is, can Google actually recognize EAT on websites? And it varies definitely by which niche that you're in. If you're in a medical or health niche, then EAT is much more important than if you're in the off-roading niche. And we'll look at that example in a second. In other words, Google is telling us that authorship and EAT is very important, right? Their spokesman say this, but can the Google algorithms detect EAT, and can they detect it across different niches? We're going to look at several examples that lead me to believe maybe the algorithm is not as sophisticated as many people think that it is. So first, is EAT actually a ranking factor? Okay, this is from the Google Search Console site, and it's an article about core updates, okay? And there's this note here, right? It says, since we originally wrote this post, we have been occasionally asked if EAT is a ranking factor. Now, do they answer this question throughout the rest of this paragraph? It doesn't sound like it, right? It says, our automated systems use a mix of many different signals to rank great content. We've tried to make this mix align with what human beings would agree is great content as they would assess it according to EAT. Given this, assessing your own content in terms of EAT criteria may help it align conceptually with the different signals that our systems use to rank content. Now, talk about a confusing answer, right? Not matching user intent. Is EAT a ranking factor? It's tough to say. I've seen Danny Sullivan on Twitter say that it's not officially a ranking factor. This definitely does not clear it up at all. So I want to look at several different examples of sites that appear to be getting hundreds of thousands of page views per month according to Ahrefs. They're all in Mediavine, and I want to see, is EAT, is this about page authorship really that big of a deal for certain niches? Now, to be clear, I'm not criticizing or critiquing anyone's EAT. In fact, these sites are doing amazing. They're doing a great job without EAT. That's the point of this demonstration, right? So this first site we have is offroadingpro.com. It's kind of about, fixing your car and different problems you have your car, how to get a B out of your car, 9 tips, just random articles. Now, this site is in Mediavine. According to Ahrefs, it's getting 255,000 visitors per month. It's clearly doing very well in Google. Now, if we go to an about page, first of all, we have to scroll kind of down here, and here is the about page. Here is all of the EAT for this site. This is it. This is the entire about page, okay? I'm Chris, the founder, blah, 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 blah. 3 short little paragraphs, right? There's not a picture of this guy. There's not, where has he been featured? Has he been quoted? Has he been linked to? The site only has a DR31. I would say the EAT on this domain is completely non-existent. Now, the point, of course, of this video is why or how is this site doing so well with zero EAT if EAT is so important? All right, let's look at another example here. Cool men's hair. So this is a DR44. So, somewhere in the middle here. Ahrefs is saying 220,000 visitors per month from Google. This site is in Mediavine, okay? And this is all about different hairstyles for men, right? Clearly not an EAT niche. Do you need to be an expert to talk about 40 different hairstyles, braided hairstyles Probably not, right? That's where niche, in my opinion, is so important when we're talking about EAT. Now, if I even wanted to find this about page, I have to go all the way down here. There's a little About Us link here. Now, this one has a few paragraphs, okay? It's a hair blog that men and hairstyle tips, reviews, and more, okay? And here, I don't know if that's a stock photo or if this is an actual person. There's no name behind it. There's no authorship. I don't know if this guy has ever been a hairstylist or what his experience is in writing about this content, if this even is a real photo. So again, in terms of EAT, you know, I'd say this is a zero. Clicking into this article, there's no author here. There are good pictures, but in terms of authorship in EAT, this is just a roundup post. I don't know who wrote this article. There's literally zero author listed for this content. The About page is non-existent, right? The EAT is non-existent, and yet this site is in Mediavine. It's making a killing. So if EAT, again, is such a crucial ranking factor, and you see this on SEO Twitter all the time, everyone's obsessed with EAT, how is this site doing so well? All right, our next example is in the tech niche, which you could arguably make the case is somewhat of an EAT niche if you're teaching people how to solve their tech issues. Now, this site, it kind of appears like they're giving the appearance that it's like a service site, right? Need personalized help, almost like, you know, they're going to come out to your house and fix your modem, right? But it really is a content site. They're monetized with Mediavine, DR35, and their traffic, 200,000 visitors per month. Now, we do have an author, at least at the top of the article. I cannot click on his author link, just a random photo there. I'm just scrolling to the bottom to see if there's any authorship here. So here's Kevin Wood. He does have a little bit of a bio, 5 years of experience working in various startups, okay? So here's the entire author bio for this author, which again is pretty much non-existent. Now, if we go to the About Us page, I don't know what that is. So there's a little more text here. They're trying to, you know, signal to Google why they can be trusted. But, you know, our team, you know, we have researchers, writers, and specialists. There's no pictures really. There's no names. There's no expertise. They're doing a little bit more. They do have like a physical address. I guess they've been mentioned on these websites. You know, so I would not give this site a 0 in terms of EAT, but, you know, you could write this About page in about 30 minutes, okay? And with that, they're having no trouble getting traffic from Google. All right, here's another random site. Again, I just kind of plucked a handful of sites that were doing well and in Mediavine. This is kind of a fashion site. So DR48, again, a decent DR, similar traffic, 221,000 visits per month, according to Google. So fashion, accessories, beauty. Do you need to be an expert in this niche in order to write about it, in order to rank in Google, in order for Google to see you as an authority, right? So if we click on just a random article, there's no author at the top of this post. This is just a huge roundup post. I'm going to pause it while I scroll to the bottom here. All right, after 5 minutes of scrolling, I reached the bottom of the article. We do have, you know, I wouldn't call this an author bio, but we have a face, and then this is going to go to an author page, and we have a little bit here, right? A professional freelance writer with thousands of articles appearing on dozens of sites. Now, I don't know if I'd call that a fashion expert, right? In terms of EAT, but at least we have a little bit of an author bio here, and then going down to an About page over here, right? So what is this site about? It's your source for fashion, apparel, accessory information for men and women. Here we have this first person's bio, and then the second person enjoys living an efficient life through, I don't know what that word is, smart home tech and smartwatches. He wakes up to a cup of coffee and proceeds to write JavaScript. All right, I don't know what that has to do with being an expert in fashion, but apparently Google doesn't care, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to get across here. Google says that EAT is incredibly important. All of the SEO experts on Twitter say it's incredibly important. I do think it's best practice to build out your EAT. There's definitely no downside, but can the algorithm actually match what Google is saying? All right, we've got another one here. Again, I'm trying to do different niches. This one is, it's also in the car niche, but it's a little bit different. It's vehicle guides, driving guides. How wide is a Nissan Navara, right? Going after these random low competition keywords. Another site with the high 40 DR, 220,000 visits from Google. If I click on an individual article, again, there's zero authorship. Who wrote this article at the top? I don't know. And I'm going to scroll to the bottom to see if we have it. All right. So it looks like there is zero authorship on this article, and probably on every article on this site. As a reader, I have no idea who wrote this content. Google has no idea who wrote this content. And Google, for whatever reason, doesn't really seem to care. Now, if we go to the About page, we have a giant disclaimer, and then we have an Amazon disclaimer. Now, in terms of the About, we have about, what, 50 words here? 49, pretty good guess. 50-word About page. No pictures, no authors, no, demonstration of expertise, no demonstration of authoritativeness. Hundreds of thousands of visitors per month from Google. All right, last but not least, this one might be my favorite. Again, I'm just plucking kind of random sites off Mediavine. This domain rating is significantly higher. They have a 64. They're getting almost 1 million page views per month from Google. Now, the content on this site is very, very good, just to be clear. But we're talking about EAT. We're talking about authorship. The first thing, and I spent time before I hit record, I literally cannot find an About page for this site anywhere linked to from the homepage. I could be wrong, but it's not in the header or menu. It's not in the footer menu, and it's not in this little drop-down menu. Zero, and I mean zero About page. Now, we can click on kind of individual authors right over here, right? So there's the chief editor, right? So there's no name, no picture, no description. This is the author page for this person. Let's see, Andy G. All right, we have at least a little bit of a bio here. There's no last name. There's no photo, but they bought a pair of headphones a decade ago. Okay. Now, let me see. Individual articles. We have Andy G. In terms of authorship, let me scroll to the bottom and see what else we have. Yeah. Bottom of the article, nothing. No author bio, no link to an author. I don't really know who wrote this article. If they're an expert, why I should trust him. But the content is really, really good. And I want to come back here on that point, right? The quality of content, especially on that last site, is very good. They have very good domain rating. They have a defined niche, and they have a lot of content. And I think those are the reasons that site is doing incredibly well in Mediavine. But their EAT is maybe not zero, 0 to 10, maybe a 2. I showed you 6 different sites, and there are no SEO experts out there who would say these websites have great or even good or even fair EAT, and yet they're all doing incredibly well. They're all earning, I would say, $20,000 plus per month from Mediavine. That's just an estimate. Now, what does that mean, right? And I don't have all of the answers. I think it's interesting that the Google algorithm is not obviously as sophisticated as Google wants the algorithm to be, or Google wants web publishers like us to be. Google's telling us to strive for certain things, but the algorithm is not there yet. Now, that said, I want to reiterate, I'm not anti-EAT. I do think, for most websites and most niches, it's worth taking the time to build out a strong About page, to brag about your credentials, to get backlinks, brag about those backlinks, work on your authorship, have a defined author at the top. I do think those things are helpful, mostly for your readers who want to click around. But whether it's the most important ranking factor or top 5 ranking factor, like a lot of SEO Twitter would have you believe. Looking at these examples, I'm not so sure. I would love to get your thoughts about this topic in the comments below. Let me know. What do you think about EAT, and is it actually that important of a quote unquote ranking factor?